video, I'm going to show you 12 things that ruin a good first impression. Behaviors that, if you display them, can really harm your image and might even be closing off opportunities in your life. Hi, how are you? Welcome. Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, co-founder of Institute of Etiquette and Protocol, which is the Institute of Etiquette and Protocol, a teacher and a specialist in the field. And today we're going to talk about one of the topics I like the most, which is first impressions. That feeling someone gets when they see you, when they notice you, when they meet you. This is something really powerful because when you make a good first impression, naturally, people already like you, they already feel drawn to you, they sympathize with you, and that opens many doors. When we talk about social environments, parties, events, friends, social situations, this opens up many opportunities because people, they want to talk to you, they want to chat with you, they want to become your friend, they want to share moments with you. What makes you get invited to more events, get invited to more parties, be a well-liked person wherever you go? Whereas when you make a negative first impression, it can take a while to turn all of that around. It's possible, but it may take time. So that first impression, that first feeling someone gets when they approach you is important and essential for you to make a positive impact on the people you meet. I'm talking about social settings here, but have you ever imagined this impact in a professional environment? For example, when you arrive to sell a product, to close a deal, or even to get a job. Have you ever considered the power in an interview? That a good first impression, the feeling you give to the other person at that first moment has. It's really very important because in social situations, you might meet the same people several times and be able to change the opinion they have about you. However, in a professional setting, changing all of that can be challenging. Because many times you scheduled a meeting with someone and you have that moment to show yourself as a confident, secure, and interesting person to others. So today we're going to talk about how to make that good first impression. And what are the factors and aspects you can apply that will make people notice you and perceive you in a positive way? The first point is a weak handshake. So when you meet someone and you're going to greet them with a handshake, be precise, give a firm handshake. It conveys strong confidence and presence, which people can truly feel. If you want to greet them, if you really want to go through with that greeting, if you're not bothered or grossed out by that person, then always greet people in a precise way. And when it comes to a handshake, what can you do to give a proper handshake? The first thing is to remember that it's palm to palm. A lot of people, especially women, sometimes go to shake hands and don't do this. They have the habit of doing it like this, a hand that's kind of limp, a hand that's too loose. So you need to be firm, okay? Whether in social settings or professional environments, be precise, Be truly present when greeting someone. Of course, you don't need to use too much force because that's not polite. It also won't be elegant, but it's important that you touch your palm to the other person's palm, okay? Another thing, when you go to shake hands, don't forget to smile and look at the person. So every time you go to shake hands, eye contact and a smile are essential. Also, be careful not to shake hands like this. With your arm pulled in too much, really extend your arm to keep a distance of about 1 meter, which is a social distance for effective communication and for a handshake to go well, But if you go this way, that handshake will already be very positive. We could talk more about handshakes here. There are several essential topics for a handshake to be effective. But if you already follow these steps, it will help you a lot and improve things a lot. That's the first impression you'll make on someone. Another point for you to make a strong first impression is to avoid chewing gum. I know that many people even use gum to freshen their breath. Sometimes it's for bad breath. Sometimes you just feel like you have a bad taste in your mouth. So you chew gum. But gum can be a little dangerous. It can sabotage you, I know it tastes good. I love gum, but still it can be a dangerous item for you. Because many times when you chew gum, you can end up looking a bit arrogant, a bit sloppy, or even childish. That's not the impression we want to give when trying to make a good first impression, right? So be very careful with that. If you constantly have bad breath, if you feel like you always have bad breath, sometimes you might need this kind of solution to keep a nice taste in your mouth. Sometimes try mints. That might be better for you because arriving somewhere chewing gum can make people have a less positive impression of you. Another factor is also the matter of eye contact, okay? Eye contact. For you to make a good first impression, it is essential. Always observe the environment when you enter somewhere. For example, when you arrive at a party, walk in looking at the event. This will not only make people feel something good about you, but it will also make them see you as a more elegant person, with more presence, more confidence, someone who doesn't feel shy when arriving at a party, for example. So this will help you a lot. In professional environments, this is also essential because it already shows the other person that you really want to have that meeting, that you want to be there. You're willing to make contacts, to exchange ideas, and this will naturally make people come closer to you. And when we talk about eye contact, about making that impactful first impression, the biggest saboteur is the cell phone. Many times people, so they don't feel alone, walk into a party or a meeting messing with their cell phone. So they arrive looking down, staying there, typing, so they don't have to connect with other people. And this, in fact, will make other people not approach you. Do you think people prefer to communicate, get to know, and talk to someone who is actually available to them or someone who is just there on their phone? One of the main keys to relationships is showing that you care about people. And when you walk into a place looking at everyone, it shows that those people are important to you, that you want to connect, that you care about that place. And this will make you promote one of the fundamental things for human relationships, and especially there, which really helps in building a good first impression, which is to generate charisma. So trust me, eye contact will really help you in building that good first impression. Another factor that also really harms a good first impression, especially for those who have long hair, it's people who have the habit of constantly touching their hair. Often out of boredom or lack of confidence, people end up touching their hair too much. So they have this habit of doing this, sometimes like this, and sometimes even putting their hair in their mouth. And this is closely related to a lack of confidence. So for those of us who want to make a positive first impression, we need to eliminate anything that makes us come across as insecure. Another thing we also want to eliminate is anything that makes people feel like we're not interested or that we have a more careless attitude. So constantly playing with your hair like this is going to hurt you a lot. Another factor that really hurts building a good first impression is your posture, your nonverbal language. All of this will really help in building and shaping the perception people will have of you there. Body language experts say that in as little as 7 seconds, and some even say in just 3 seconds, a person can form and build an impression. So paying attention to your nonverbal language is essential for you to make a good first impression. So be very careful with the way you walk. So be very careful, for example, with the position of your chin. Your chin should always be parallel to the ground. Be careful not to stick your chin out too much, because it can give the impression that you are arrogant, that you feel superior to other people, that you feel that way. Or lowering your chin can show insecurity and make people think you're not that interested in connecting or sharing experiences. There, in that environment you just arrived in. Nonverbal language is one of the essential factors for making a good first impression. So also pay close attention to how your arms are. Be careful, don't enter the environment with your arms crossed. Maybe the environment is too cold and you're just trying to warm up. But people might interpret it as you being completely uninterested or a bit bored. So, Be very careful with the way you carry yourself, especially when we're talking about first impressions. Another factor I mentioned at the start of the video but want to highlight for this topic is the issue of cell phones. Many people have the habit of being on their phones all the time. Not only do they arrive at events on their phones, but they also spend the whole time checking their phones. If you're at the beginning of a relationship with someone, you're getting to know people there. Constantly fiddling with your phone will make people not feel interested in talking to you. Because is your phone more interesting to you? So, if the other person isn't interesting to you and your phone is more interesting, the other person will just leave you with your phone. So, every time you use your phone, mess with your phone. When you're there with people, it's going to push people away from you. So, be very careful with that. When you go into a meeting or arrive at a party, forget your phone for a while, just put it aside. Of course, if it's something relevant, something important that needs to be presented there. Of course, you're going to use your phone, but be careful when you pick it up and start looking at things that have nothing to do with what's going on. Sometimes, even when we're going to show something to someone, we end up seeing things that have nothing to do with it. And then a moment that was just for you to show something to someone. You've already spent a lot of time on your phone browsing random things because that's just how phones are. You go to check one thing but end up spending hours wandering, watching videos and looking at photos unrelated to your original purpose. Another factor for you to make a good first impression, and I think this could even be a hack for you, is yourself. When you meet someone, ask for their name. A person's name is the sweetest sound they can hear. It might sound a little crazy for me to say this, but it really is true. Is there anything better than walking into a place and having someone call you by your name? It's wonderful to know that you're truly being recognized by others for who you are. So whenever you meet someone, it's essential that you try to remember that person's name. There are some strategies to help you remember names, and one of the main ones is to try to repeat the person's name during your first conversation. So for example, if I'm introduced to someone, let's say I'm introduced to Maria. Hi Maria, wow, it's so nice to meet you. So Maria introduced herself, said her name, I repeat her name in a sentence, and during the conversation I try to repeat her name, so that it really sticks in my mind and I actually memorize her name. Of course, you're not going to keep repeating her name all the time because that might make it obvious that you're trying to memorize her name. But once in a while, it's a good idea to do that because it will really help you memorize that person's name. Another strategy to help you remember people's names is to try to make some kind of association, for example. Maria, I have a niece whose name is Maria, so I think, oh, she has the same name as my niece. Of course, each memorization hack will work differently for each person. But certainly trying to find which one works best for you will be a better path. So if you think you can memorize names by associating them with other people, for example, my husband's name is Lucas. When I meet another Lucas, I instantly think that's my husband's name, which helps me remember it. When I meet someone with a different name that I can't associate with anyone, I try to repeat the person's name several times so I can link it and make it stick in my mind. But you can see which one makes more sense for you and use whatever is most relevant. There are other topics as well to help you memorize names. In fact, I talk about this in my Etiquette and Good Manners training, a complete training from the Institute of Etiquette and Protocol where you will master the processes of etiquette and good manners. Not only for you to make a good first impression, but also to build positive relationships with a good image and positive interpretations about you. As you create this good first impression, you will also build valuable relationships. In this course, you will learn everything about nonverbal language, table etiquette, and digital etiquette to participate and have online contact. You will also learn about etiquette at parties, events, and various other situations. If you are not yet a student at our school and want to be part of this group, including this etiquette and good manners training, it has already been completed by thousands of people all over the world. Use the coupon YOUTUBE now, which gives you a special discount on your first purchase. So come join us, come be a student. I'll be very happy to welcome you. Just use the coupon YOUTUBE on your first purchase, and the coupon will be applied and validated for you. Still talking about how to make a good first impression, you need to choose topics to talk about with someone, and these topics need to be interesting, relevant, and appropriate. When we meet someone for the first time, it's natural for certain topics to come up. Many people have trouble introducing topics, so it's essential for you to know that some topics won't be relevant or appropriate at first. Topics that are very personal, for example, related to someone's life, like if they're married, single, have children, or are divorced, and so on. These aren't questions you ask right away. You let the person talk, and little by little, you'll get that kind of information. Questions about politics too, right? Like who they voted for, who they're voting for, or their opinion on it. Other topics also related to religion or money aren't good to bring up right away either. So if you have trouble introducing topics, go for a safer approach. And whenever you go to an event, think about topics you can bring up with people you meet there. For example, if you're going to a wedding, one topic you can talk about is actually how the person knows the bride and groom. How do you know the bride and groom? Are you a friend? Do you work with him? Anyway, you can ask questions like these to introduce this topic and have something to talk about. If you go to a party, take your child to a classmate's party, you can ask, wow, that's cool that they're in the same class. Has your child attended the school long? You can ask questions like that, but it's a good idea to already have questions in your mind already that you're going to ask, okay? If you have trouble introducing topics or starting conversations and you're not used to it, that's okay. You need to practice, okay? And you need to train yourself to have topics up your sleeve to talk to people there. And think about the context of that situation, the host, like how to get to know the host of that party. All of that will be resources for you to introduce topics. Another topic you can also talk about is the weather or events that are going to happen in your city. All of these can be some safe topics that might be interesting for you. There are more safe topics, but I won't go into detail here in the video because I would spend too much time talking about it. I can record more later if you want. Comment below. Another thing that also helps to make a good impression is not being late. People have a big habit, especially in Brazil, of arriving very late to events. So be very careful with the time you arrive. In professional events and situations, business meetings, this is almost unacceptable. You always need to be early and arrive on time. In social situations, be careful not to be too late. Up to 30 minutes is tolerated. But after that, it's very disrespectful, especially at an event with only a few people. Sometimes someone will host a dinner at their house with two couples of friends. You and your husband, for example, are one of those couples. Dinner is at 8, but you show up at 10. Have you ever thought about how much you ruin a gathering when you do that? Be very careful. So it's essential that if you're someone who tends to be late, you try to be a little more organized, manage your time better, plan ahead more. You know it takes you a long time to get ready. Go ahead and organize everything nicely so there's no risk and you can avoid mistakes. And of course, we couldn't forget to talk about proper clothing. When we want to make a good first impression, it's essential that we wear something that also communicates the image we want to convey. Our clothing, just like our behavior, definitely has the ability to influence, to communicate, to send messages to others. And that's essential for you to make a good first impression and also to make a positive first impression. A first impression that you want others to have of you. It's as if you have the power to influence people through your behavior and also through your clothing. For sure, clothing has a very strong impact. And if you want to understand what the 10 elements are that can make your clothing look more elegant, more sophisticated, I've already made a video on the channel and I'll leave it here for you to watch next. I'll stop here, big kiss, see you next video.